Yo guys, what's going on? Got a ShineGreymon deck profile for you guys for the BT4 and potentially the BT5 meta as well. This is a very powerful, I don't want to call it a rogue deck, but because of the popularity of Yellow War Greymon and soon to be Lord Nightmon, ShineGreymon has kind of been on the back burner for a lot of yellow players, but I'm here to tell you guys that this deck is still very powerful, very strong control deck, and once it gets started, it cannot be stopped. So I actually got first place with this at my locals recently. I played some fairly competitive decks, so there's Yellow War Greymon roaming around, the Green OTK, Purple Metal Garurumon, so this deck can definitely hold its own against the meta, so let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off with the level 3 Digimon, I'm playing, of course, 4 copies of Pulsemon. Pulsemon is arguably the best yellow rookie that we've gotten in the game so far. He's just absolutely fantastic. 2 really great effects on play. If you have 3 or more security cards, you get to draw 1 card, which is primarily what you'll use him as just a kind of draw engine. But also, if you have 3 or fewer, you get to gain a memory. If you have exactly 3, you get to resolve both effects. Now, I know this card is not exactly budget, so if you do want to play this deck, I do have a couple of suggestions. You could potentially swap out Pulsemon for a couple more copies of this Patamon right here. I am playing 2 copies of Patamon. We'll get to that in a second, as well as Starmons comes out in the next set. I believe he's only a common or maybe an uncommon or something like that. Starmons is another very powerful yellow rookie that you could definitely incorporate, but if you're looking to play in the BT4 meta, I would definitely encourage you to play 2 more copies of Patamon and 2 more copies of Salmon. I'll get to those guys in just a second, but in addition to that, we are also playing 4 copies of the starter deck Patamon. So this Patamon is great for many reasons, mainly because of course, he's just, a 3-cost rookie, and you evolve him for free, but of course, the main reason you are playing him is because of his inherited effect, where if your opponent's Digimon is reduced to 0, you get to gain 1 memory. This is such a powerful effect, especially when you pair it with something like ShineGreymon, who is usually a 4-cost on evolution, and you're nuking your opponent's board, but if you actually gain a memory back to him, it can potentially put you back to 0. Most turns you do start at 3 with TK, so making ShineGreymon an effective 3-cost. So it's just really good combos off with a lot of your other playmakers like Slash Angemon, War Growlmon, things like that. And then I alluded to this earlier, but I actually do quite like BT1 Patamon. I'm playing 2 copies of him. This guy, on play, you get to reveal 4 cards from the top of your deck and add all yellow tamers. So that is not just 1 card, right? It's a searcher that adds all cards you reveal. So usually it's a +1, occasionally +2. If you're lucky, you might get more than that. But, just sometimes, because this deck is so reliant on setting up the tamers, if you don't open those guys early on, if you don't open your TK to search through your security and guarantee yourself 3 memory every single turn, it can be kind of hard to catch up. So then we're also playing 2 copies of Salamon, BT2 Salamon, where on deletion you get to gain recovery +1. So just really good in the late game, especially because you do take time to set up. Sometimes your opponent can get aggressive and whittle down your security, so this is a nice comeback card. So again, if you do not have access to Pulsemons, I'd recommend playing 2 more copies of both of these, or you could even incorporate Tsukaimon or any other 2-drop rookie. So that is it for the level 3 count. A low count, I know, but you are going to make up for that consistency, for the lack of consistency, I should say, with stuff like TK. So then for the level 4 Digimon, I am playing 4 copies of Terurimon. Terurimon is really good because this is your 1-cost evolution vanilla for the deck. So having a 1-cost is very nice, but of course, being 6,000 DP is also pretty relevant sometimes, especially because, yellow decks are so prominent. So it gets over things like War Growlmon, gets over things like Starmons. Usually, we'll see that will become relevant in BT5. And, just overall a good, solid vanilla to play. And then I'm playing 4 copies of Pidomon. This is your blocker for the deck. Having a 1-cost blocker is really nice. Of course, the only drawback being that he is a 6 play cost and only 5,000 DP as compared to something like Unimon, who I'm also playing 3 copies of. So Unimon, I still think, is very relevant for many reasons. Of course, the play cost is just a little bit less, and Unimon's DP is actually 6,000 as opposed to 5,000. But I'm playing this spread. 7 blockers does seem kind of a lot, but again, this is a control deck. You want to slowly build up your resources in the first couple of turns until you can just explode, drop a ShineGreymon or 2 on your opponent in the later half of the game usually, and having the extra blockers is very relevant. There's not really any other champions I think are absolutely essential as far as like inherited effects go. Maybe something like 1.5 Gatomon or something like that to get some extra DP reduction. But I would much rather have the extra blocker. So yeah, this worked out really well for me, and I'm liking it going into the BT5 meta. So that is it for the level 4s. For the level 5s, I'm playing 4 copies of ShineGreymon here. This is the yellow ShineGreymon, where on Digivolve you get to play a tamer from your hand for free. So being able to just unload your hand with tamers is really nice. Now, they don't actually get their on play effects, so that's really the only downside. But then he also has an amazing inherited effect, where if you do have 3 or more yellow tamers in play, he gains security attack +1. So it's very relevant when you're swinging with your ShineGreymon, and ShineGreymon has usually, he's base 11,000, but he usually has more when you're dropping him because you do have the yellow tamers in play. So being able to swing with a powerful boss monster that's checking 2 cards every single time will really put the pressure on your opponent. And I think this guy is just absolutely fantastic. Now, the foil to him is 3 copies of red ShineGreymon here. Now, only 3 copies. The main reason for that is because he is a red card. So I know he can evolve from a yellow, and I know he is treated as a yellow Digimon on the field. However, he is not treated as a yellow Digimon in security. So I've ran into an issue a couple of times when I'm resolving TK, either from my hand or from security, and this guy is like the only choice I have, or I really need to get him. Like, I don't have any other ultimates in hand. So because of that, because of the fact that he's red, you actually don't get the recovery effect from TK if you do grab him from security. So that is really the only downside. Aside from that, he's a fantastic card. He can Digivolve in the breeding area, and then, you can bring him out the following turn and still get his effect, unlike this ShineGreymon. And then, of course, the best part about him is that the tamer you play does actually get its on-play effect. So it works really well with something like TK, who has an amazing on-play effect that lets you search through your security. So this ShineGreymon is just absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, his inherited effect, where one of your opponent's Digimon does get -2,000 whenever you're attacking, can come up sometimes. It's pretty nice just to add, extra DP reduction to your opponent's Digimon. And then lastly, to round off the level 5 count, I'm just playing 2 copies of ShineGreymon. Now, this might seem a little bit weird, but I do think this is pretty essential to the strategy. ShineGreymon does reduce one of your opponent's Digimon by 4,000, so it's effectively like having another tamer on field if you do have a ShineGreymon in hand, or if you have a lack of tamers, this guy can make up for it by basically being that substitute. Now, the only downside, of course, is you do need to have the Digiburst 2 for him, but he is really, really solid. And then, of course, he's got the inherited effect, where if your security is 3 or fewer, you gain +1,000, so boosting ShineGreymon up even more is really nice. And then, on top of that, you can boost up Shine / Angemon and put him, past the really weak 8,000 threshold. So that's pretty nice as well. So I still do think ShineGreymon is a very solid card. You could definitely substitute this out for something like an Angemon, starter deck Angemon, if you want the extra recovery plays. But I found this was pretty relevant most of the time. So that is going to do it for the level 5 count. For the level 6s, I'm playing 4 copies of ShineGreymon. This card needs no explanation on why he's so powerful. He has a couple of really amazing effects. First of all, you get to, on Digivolve, suspend all of your yellow tamers and reduce one of your opponent's Digimon by 4,000 for each. You can spread that out or stack it however you like, but the more tamers you have, the more impactful this guy can be. He has such an amazing on Digivolve effect, and not only that, as if that was not bad enough for your opponent, but whenever it is your turn, you get +1,000 DP for each of your tamers that you have. That's not yellow tamers, but most of the time you are only playing yellow tamers in this deck. But he can become really big late game. He gains 1,000 for each one. So if you have 5 tamers, he becomes 16,000, strong enough to beat over an Omnimon or basically any level 7 or any Digimon in the game. So he's just really fantastic. And then when you pair him with things like ShineGreymon, you can get either an extra 2,000 DP reduction or security attack +1. So ShineGreymon is just an absolutely fantastic boss monster. Cannot tell you how many games I've won because of this guy. And to supplement that, I am also playing 2 copies of /Angemon. I was going back and forth between /Angemon, Magnadramon, Kentorismon. There's a lot of other level 6 Digimon that work really well with ShineGreymon, but in the end I decided to go with him because he's more relevant when it comes to sniping level 5s, as well as you can pair him with something like Wargrowlmon to make the total reduction for a turn being 12,000, enough to kill basically every level 6 in the game. So I think /Angemon is really good, the only downside being, of course, his 8,000 DP, but your main heavy hitter is going to be ShineGreymon. And then to top it off, just playing 1 copy of Chaosmon Valder Arm. I don't think you really need more than 1 in this deck, especially because this deck also does have consistency issues because you are playing such a large number of tamers. You kind of do have to cut down on the monsters, so seeing more than 1 of this in your hand can be pretty terrible at times, and a lot of times your ShineGreymon will be bigger than this guy anyway, so ideally you want to evolve him on top of a Slash, but evolving on ShineGreymon is no big deal as well. So guys, that is going to do it for the level 6s. And then now for the Tamers, playing 4 copies of TK Takaishi. He is so fantastic. I legitimately think this is the best Tamer card in the game. This guy has many great effects. First of all, he does set your memory to 3 every single turn, but then also when you play him, you get recovery +1 after you get to search through your security. Well, you'll most likely get that recovery. Now that does have to, that is contingent upon you adding a yellow card, but most of the times you will be adding a yellow card anyways. But just the fact that you get to search through your security, pick out any card you want from there is just super fantastic. Of course, the other Tamers we are playing are 3 copies of Kari Kamiya. She's really good because late game she can be very, very good in, giving you so much advantage and letting you do a bunch of plays in 1 turn. Being able to gain 1 memory at the start of your turn for, just a condition that if you have 3 or fewer security is absolutely fantastic. And then the last Tamer card I'm playing is 3 copies of Starter Deck TK. He's kind of like the worst one, quote unquote. He's still really good. He is a 2 cost, so that's probably the best part about him, but he can also make your security Digimon really big, so punishing any big plays that your mode, it might, if they start swinging with a Yellow Wargreymon or go into Grand Quagamon, but they didn't have the jamming Palmon. So there's lots of really cool things you can do with him. And then to round off the main deck, just playing 1 copy of Glorious Burst to round off the main deck. And then for the Digi-Eggs, I'm playing a simple lineup. Just 1 copy of Upomon for the draw power and 4 copies of Koromon. I like Koromon because, again, the extra DP reduction is nice. This is relevant with things like Wargrowlmon, and it also makes it so that you don't have to waste 2 ShineGreymon triggers on a single blocker. Lots of people are playing the 1 cost 5,000 blockers, so 5,000 is a really important threshold. So sometimes if you, go minus 4,000 on a blocker, and then you can swing with your Digimon and get the extra minus 1,000 to finish it off. But guys, that is going to do it for the Digi-Eggs. And guys, that is going to do it for the profile. If you did enjoy, go ahead and let me know what you think about ShineGreymon. Are you excited playing it in the BT4? And what about the BT5 meta? Do you think it will still be competitive? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.